The nervous system consists of the central nervous system that has the spinal cord and the encephalon, and also of the peripheral nervous system that has the totality of the peripheral nerves and their associated ganglia. Talking about the functional point of view of the nervous system, we have the voluntary nervous system that controls the movement that we want to make, like move a muscle, and also we have the autonomic nervous system that controls the unconscious movement that we do, like the beating of the heart. The nervous system divides in three categories. In the motor system, that includes all the structures and areas of the nervous system that generate and regulate the voluntary movement. Also in the sensory system, that includes all the structures and areas of the nervous system responsible for the perceiving of stimuli. And finally, in the cognitive system, that includes areas involved in the generation and regulation of the more complex and abstract functions of the brain. The most important cells of the nervous system are the neurons and the glial cells. The neurons have cellular bodies called axons and dendrites. There are different types of neurons, like the unipolar that have a single cell extension, the pseudo-unipolar that have a single prolongation subdivided in two, the bipolar that have two independent prolongations, and the multipolar that have one axon and multiple complex dendrites. The neurons divide into three categories. One of them are the receptor neurons that are in charge of taking information from outside of the organism. Another category are the motor or afferent neurons that are responsible for the transmitting the information from the central nervous system. And the final category are the interneurons that connect and communicate only with other neurons. There are different types of glial cells. One of them are the astrocytes that have numerous extensions and they waste and eliminate substances from the nervous tissue. Another type are the oligodendrocytes that form the protein myelin. Also we have the microglial cells that are the defense cells. Also the Schwann cells that are responsible for the formation of the myelin, and the epidermal that line the walls of the intercerebral cavities. The synapses are complex interconnected network of cells in which intercellular signals are originated and transmitted. There are different types of synapses. One of them is a chemical synapse in which the interaction between neurons is mediated by a chemical substance. Another type of synapse is the electrical synapse in which there is a direct communication between neurons. The neurotransmitters are the different chemical substances that enable the interneuron communication in the chemical synapse. There are different types of neurotransmitter. One of them are the small molecule that enable rapid interneural communication, and the other one is the neuropeptides that are involved in the long-term modulation of chemical synapse.
Neurotransmitters are the different chemical substances that enable intraneural communication in chemical synapses. They divide into two main types: the small molecules, which allow rapid intraneural communication, and neuropeptides, which are the long-term modulation synapses. A visible feature of the central nervous system is the two different phases: the gray substance, which is used to refer to the nervous tissue that by combining neural bodies and a few fibers make the gray color, and the white matter, which is found in the depth of the brain conformed of myelinated fibers which give the white color. The cerebral hemisphere is divided into five lobes, called the frontal, parietal, temporary, occipital, and insular. There are different types of diseases related to the nervous system, just like Alzheimer's disease, which is the progressive loss of memory, epilepsy, the recurrence of crises of cerebral origin, or the Parkinson's disease, characterized by tremor in extremities and limitation of muscle mobility. Drugs are substances with psychotropic effects that can damage the functionality of the nervous system. They are divided into stimulants, depressants, hallucinogens, opioids, as well as others.
The endocrine system. The endocrine system is made up of groups of cells that form glands isolated in the epithelium of the respiratory and digestive system. Cells secrete molecules that function as chemical messengers called hormones. They are transported in blood to be distributed through the body. Hormones help body to achieve homeostasis. Structure and function. The pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is located in the sella turca, a cavity at the base of the skull. It is connected to hypothalamus. It consists of an anterior lobe called adenohypophysis and a posterior lobe called neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis. The adenohypophysis is constituted of endocrine cells surrounded by lots of blood capillaries, where regulatory factors from hypothalamus are transported. Different types of endocrine cells secrete specific hormones, somatropin and prolactin. Neurohypophysis. The neurohypophysis is formed by nervous fibers that are axons of neurons located in the hypothalamus. Axons are surrounded by pericytes. They secrete vasopressin and oxytocin.
Pineal gland or epiphysis. It is located in the midline of the brain in the roof of the third ventricle. It forms part of the epithalamus. It receives nervous innervation and connects it with cells of retina. Parenchyma is made up from pinealocytes that secrete melatonin and interstitial that support and regulate exchange of blood. And also, it is regulated by light. Thyroid gland. It is located in the anterior part of the neck. It is formed by two lobes joined by anesmos. It is constituted by thyroid follicles surrounded of connective tissue and abundant capillaries. Follicles are formed by a layer of follicular cells, and parafollicular cells secrete calcitonin. Parathyroid glands. They are located in the neck. There are four, two superior and two inferior. They are surrounded by connective tissue. Parenchyma are formed by chief and oxyphilic cells, and chief cells secrete parathyroid hormones. Kidney glands. There are two located in the anterosuperior face of each kidney. The cortex is 80% of gland divided in glomerular, vascular, and reticular. Pancreatic islets. They are groups of cells that form clusters in the pancreas. Both are endocrine and exocrine, and they have alpha, beta, and delta cells. In diseases, we have diabetes, disorders of thyroid and pituitary glands, gigantism, and dwarfism.
Reproductive system. The reproductive system, both female and male, combined with the endocrine system, is responsible for producing the gametes or sex cells that will give rise to a new being.
The male reproductive system is structured by testicles. These are even organs located in the scrotal bags that keep them out of the abdominal cavity. This location allows the proper development of the sperm since they need a temperature of 3 degrees lower than the body temperature. These organs are covered by fibrous layer called tunica albuginea, and inside each testicle are the seminiferous tubules where the sperm develop, a process known as spermatogenesis. Testosterone is also produced in the testes by Leydig cells, the hormone responsible for spermatogenesis and the development of secondary sexual characteristics. Conduits of the male reproductive system. Their function is to protect and drive sperm from the testicle to the urethra. They start from the inside of the testis and continue with the epididymis, the vas deferens, and the ejaculatory duct. The epididymis is a long and full duct where substances necessary for the maturation of the sperm are produced. The vas deferens has a thick muscular layer that impels the sperm from the epididymis to the ejaculatory duct and the urethra during sexual arousal. Accessory glands. The semen is made up of the sperm and the secretions of the accessory glands, which are the seminal vesicles, the prostate, and the vulvourethral or Cowper's glands. The secretion of the two seminal vesicles constitutes of 60% of the total of the semen. The prostate is an organ located around the prostatic urethra, and its secretion protects the sperm and keeps it viable. 25% of the sperm volume corresponds to the prostatic secretion. The bulbourethral glands produce a viscous alkaline fluid that lubricates the urethra, while neutralizing the pH, preventing the sperm from being damaged during ejaculation. The penis is a copulatory organ. It has the urethra, which is the route of ejaculation and emission of urine. Along the penis is the corpus cavernosum, which is a structure formed by erectile tissue that fills with blood during sexual arousal to maintain the erection of the penis. The spongy body that contains the urethra is located below the corpus cavernosum. Chlamydia is the STD with highest prevalence. At the beginning of the infection, there are no symptoms. In man, it manifests as inflammation of the urethra, accompanied by burning and clear discharge, as well as frequent and painful urination. In case of women, up to 70% of those infected have no symptoms. However, it causes inflammation of the pelvis and the oviducts. Gonorrhea. It is highly contagious, since infected mucous membranes are the source of infection during oral, vaginal, and anal intercourse. In men, there is inflammation of the urethra with the production of pus and painful urination. In women, there is purulent vaginal discharge, and the uterus, oviducts, and pelvis can swell. Syphilis. It is not only by sexual transmission, but also by blood transfusions from infected donors. In the first stage, in the infected area, there is a region of hardening. Between 6 and 24 weeks later, fever, joint and muscle pain, and rashes appears. Genital herpes. It is an incurable STD caused by herpes virus type 2. It produces a painful blisters on the penis and the vulva, including the vagina. Genital warts are caused by the human papilloma virus, which is sexually transmitted and is not curable. Women infected with this virus have highly risk of developing cancer of the cervix. Molluscum contagiosum is caused by Molluscum contagiosum virus, produces lesions in the form of small yellowish white hard rashes on the skin. If the infection is caused by sexual contact, the lesions develop in the genital and perineal areas, as well as in tights. The lesion is eliminated with the use of drugs of local applications or with cryotherapy. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It is caused by the human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. When someone becomes infected, it presents a disease pattern similar to that of the flu: fever, tiredness, swollen glands and heartaches, joints and throat. The virus infects the cells responsible for coordinating the immune responses. Some drugs have been developed to improve the quality of life of people infected with HIV. Hepatitis type B. It is spread sexually and also by the use of contaminated syringes, blood transfusion, saliva, and tears. This virus causes liver cirrhosis and liver cancer. For this disease, some vaccines prevent infection.
Structure and function. Female reproductive system. The female reproductive system is composed of the internal genital organs, the ovaries, the uterine tubes, the uterus, and the vagina. External genital comprise the vulva. In addition to the internal and external genital organs, the mammary glands are also included. Ovaries are even organs with the size of an almond that are responsible for the production of female gametes, as well as for the synthesis and secretion of female sex hormones. Ovaries are located in the pelvic cavity, one of each side of the uterus. If observed with a microscope, it can be seen that each one presents two regions, the cortex and the medulla. The outer layer corresponds to the cortex, and the central area in the medulla. Uterine tubes, or fallopian tubes. They are pairs and tubular organs, approximately 10 centimeters long. One end is attached to the uterus, and the other is funnel-shaped and join the fimbriae that have the shape of skinny fingers to be able to catch the newly ovulated oocyte. Uterus is inverted, pear-shaped, and its average size is 7.5 centimeters long by 5 centimeters wide. In women without previous pregnancy, it has three parts: the uterus zone, where the oviducts are inserted, and is called the fun. The portion of the center is the body, and the lower portion is the cervix, which extends to the vagina. Its functions are implantation of the fertilized ovum, which allows pregnancy and childbirth. The vagina is a tubal organ about 10 centimeters long. Its functions are to act as an outlet for the menstrual flow. It is the receptacle of the penis during intercourse and constitutes the birth canal. The vulva includes the external genitalia, pubic scrotum, labia major, labia minor, clitoris, and vestibule. The pubic mound is anterior to the urethra, and it's in an area where the skin has abundant pubic hair and fatty tissues. Mammary glands are even organs located in the anterior part of the thorax. Milk-producing cells are organized into structures in the form of small sacs called alveoli. Menstrual cycle, menstrual phase. Day 1 corresponds to the beginning of menstruation, originate when the fertilization relation is absent, and consequently the levels of estrogen diminish. The functional layer of the endometrium is detached and bleeding occurs. This stage lasts from 1 to 5 days. Pre-ovulatory phase. This phase goes from the end of menstruation to ovulation, although in each ovary are follicles at different stages of maturation. Ovulation. This action happens in the middle of the menstrual cycle. Post-ovulatory phase. The ovarian follicles from the oocyte was released present a small hemorrhage and, subsequently, the cells that comprise it are organized. Methods for birth control. There are different ways to avoid pregnancy, physical or chemical methods, and partial abstinence. Each method has an advantage and disadvantages, and a varied degree of efficiency. Physical methods. Barrier methods. Its function is to prevent sperm from entering the vagina or the uterus. They include the condom, the vaginal sac or female condom, and the diaphragm. Intrauterine device are objects introduced into the uterus and made of various materials such as plastic and metals. The most common used are copper. It is a very safe method, and each device can be used up for 10 years. Surgical sterilization. In men, it's called vasectomy. It consists of ligating and cutting the vas deferens of each testicle. In a woman, the sterilization consists of the ligator and section of both oviducts. Chemical methods. Hormonal methods. These methods use hormones that modify the development of the ovarian follicles and inhibit ovulation. Spermicides are drugs that kill sperms. They are available in creams, foams, which are applied directly or with a sponge that are inserted in the bottom of the vagina, as its effectiveness depends on the correct use. Partial abstinence. Rhythm method. For this method to work, the woman always required to have regular menstrual cycles, since sex relationship should be avoided 3 days before ovulation.